Welcome back, everyone. Sheepdog Smokey here, and this is one that I'm not surprised at all to see. After 2016 loss, Democrats know they need white male voters. The party of white men are evil is now the party of, but still vote for us. Upper St. Clair Township, Pennsylvania, AP. When he moved to Pennsylvania about 5 years ago, it was a coin toss which party Brian Heitman would register with. No longer. Since Donald Trump's election in 2016, Heitman, who is 42 and white, has become a reliable Democrat. Last week, he voted for the Democratic candidate in a special Senate election, in Pittsburgh's affluent southern suburbs. A decade ago, I probably wouldn't even have noticed this election was happening, Heitman said, but I'm making a point in voting in every one I can nowadays. The Democrats' 2020 presidential primary may feature a historically diverse field of women and minorities, but in some ways it is testing how the party appeals to white men such as Heitman. Many Democratic politicians went into the last presidential campaign cycle taking little account of those voters and banked on a coalition of women and minorities to carry them to victory. Look at demographics, people. There's not any confluence of only women and minorities that could elect a president based on the Electoral College. And this is, again, why they want it gone. Trump's victory proved that thinking wrong. Many in the party are determined now not to make that mistake again. AP needs a copy editor. Many in the party are now determined to not make that mistake again. Crying out loud, people, I'm a history teacher. I'm not an English major or teacher. Even I can write that sentence properly. That's left Democrats wondering whether the nominee should be someone who can cut deep into Trump's base, picking off large numbers of working class whites, whether it's enough to win over affluent, college educated suburban men, and whether the party, missing a word, is moving too far left, TOO, far left. Actually, no, I'm wrong on that one. Too far left to win them both. The white male vote is indispensable. It's a part of any winning coalition, said Democratic pollster Ronald Lester, who worked for Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. He noted that successful national Democrats perform well with white men, and this includes Barack Obama, whose strength among white men in the Rust Belt helped fuel his White House victories in 2008 and 2012. That's a topic for another time. Several candidates have jumped in with their own suggestions of how to do that. Former Vice President Joe Biden, who hasn't said whether he is running, spoke to the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers in an appearance Friday that seemed designed to show how he could win back the white working class voters. Biden says some of his sophisticated friends don't understand the need to treat laborers with respect. Well, there's a rare admission of truth from the left. Why do we even need to try to respect those people who keep the country running? How the hell do we get to the place where a lot of you think the rest of the country doesn't see you or know you? Biden asked the mostly male crowd. When Rep. Tim Ryan, Democrat from Ohio, announced his campaign earlier in the week, he said his more centrist approach could appeal to working class voters like those in his district, which embodies the Rust Belt terrain that Trump won. Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat Minnesota, said her no-frills style has delivered white Midwestern voters before. Former Rep. Robert Francis O'Rourke, Democrat of Texas, uses his star appeal that helped him in the Texas well-educated suburbs. Here we are again. You vote Republican, you're stupid. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has said his economic populism, socialism, will bring rural white voters back to the Democratic fold. Polling makes clear why Democrats are searching for the right messenger. White men make up typically about 1/3 of the electorate. In 2018, 41% of them voted for Democrats, according to AP Votecast, a survey of the national electorate. I would love to see the demographics, methodology, and actual sample you used. While Democrats' strength among women won headlines and was often credited with Democrats' strong showing, white men also moved to the Democrats' column. Vote cast showed Democrats won the votes of 46% of white male college graduates, a figure that has given some in the party hope. The revolt in these suburban districts wasn't just about white women, it was also about white men, said Anna Greenberg, a Democratic pollster advising the campaign of former Governor John Hickenlooper, Democrat, Colorado. Just as there's been a movement of white college-educated women, there's been a movement of white college-educated men. This shift is part of a long-term trend. According to the American National Election Survey, white men without college degrees have consistently supported the GOP over the past 2 decades, while those with degrees, roughly 1/5 of the 2018 electorate, have increasingly moved towards the Democrats. I'm actually just going to pause here. Again, I would love to see the methodology, the questions as they were posed to the people, and the demographic sample polled. I know of no survey that was done here in Texas where a lot of white college-educated men voted for Donald Trump, just as did the non-college educated. Would you care to know why non-college educated people tend to vote Republican almost en masse? It's because these are the people in the trade jobs. These are not teachers. These are not programmers. These are not doctors and lawyers and businessmen. These are plumbers and electricians, contractors, pavers. These are the people whose jobs are being destroyed by the Democrats importing illegals who do the job at 1/3 the price. They see Republicans trying to secure the border, some of them, and they see Donald Trump actually working to do it even with all of the backlash he's facing in Congress. And they ask themselves a simple question. Do I want a president who will open the border and allow a flood of people who will come in illegally, never become citizens, and who will do the job I'm doing at 1/3 the price? Or do I want a president who will secure the country's borders so that these jobs are available to people like me who did get an education in how to do them? It's just not a bachelor's degree. We're going to pick up here. In 1996, when President Bill Clinton overwhelmingly won re-election, he only received 36% of the votes of white male college graduates, according to ANES. Hillary Clinton lost a race in 2016, but won 43% of them. It's a minority. It's the way it goes. Strategists generally find that college-educated white men are more moved by social issues and Trump's violation of political norms. College-educated white male. No, I'm not moved by social issues. I'm moved by the fact that I'm watching my country be invaded from the South. And there are no violations of political norms. It's not a rule that Trump has to bend over backwards to satisfy the Democrats in their quest to overthrow him. It is not a rule that he must nominate who they tell him to. The norms are there because the deep state swamp things who have infested Washington for decades just agreed. It doesn't really matter who they vote for. We're all doing the same thing, which is protecting each other. Trump is an outsider. He always has been, and he always will be. And the Democrats and a lot of Republicans hate that because they cannot control him. And they are using this, well, he's violating political norms. He's not observing tradition. I don't care. Is he breaking the law? No. He's getting the job done. So then they go to their judges and they get an injunction by a judge that says President Donald Trump cannot enforce United States immigration law. All of these are going to get to the Supreme Court. They're going to be heard, and they're going to have all these judges smacked down and told you cannot rule that the law must not be enforced. Plain and simple. I'm actually not going to continue on this because it is a very lengthy article. I will link it here. But this honestly shows how far the left is in their disconnect from logic and reality. These are the party members who have now for over 2 years demonized and castigated and vilified white men as the most evil people on the planet. But now, of course, well, we know we need their votes. The white men have watched for 2 years as we've been told we can't have guns because the inanimate object is evil. But we also can't have schools guarded by armed security. And we can't have walls. But the people telling us that get all three. We've been told how evil we are for pointing out the truth that we're catching terrorists and rapists and murderers and human traffickers and drug dealers in these caravans. We're told we're ignorant because we think that Zarate should have been deported once and never allowed back in, as opposed to letting him return time and time again until he steals a police officer or a law enforcement official's firearm and kills Kate Steinle. We're called racist because we point out that an illegal alien that laughed in court about how he wanted to kill more cops than he'd been able to should not be allowed to stay in this country. But they need our votes. And it shows why they'll never understand the truth about humanity. And that is, when you call someone an evil bigot, a racist, a Nazi, a homophobe, transphobe, Islamophobe, deplorable, people tend to say, if you don't like me, then you don't want my vote. It's the same thing Hollywood is starting to experience, because now, look at where Jennifer Lawrence is no longer at. She very plainly said, if you voted for Donald Trump, don't watch my movies. Millions and millions of Americans said, fine, see ya. Look at how the boycott of Georgia backfired. People are very upset that Hollywood elitist liberals would actually tell a state they do not live in that they must obey Hollywood rather than the state's voters, or they will not come to the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia said, see ya. But then look at movies like Unplanned, Death of a Nation. Look at streaming services like Netflix and Hulu that are actually stagnant or losing members over streaming services like PureFlix. That is cheaper than Netflix, much better quality of entertainment available, and they're doing just fine. And while, yes, PureFlix is a very, very conservative Christian-run group, and that is the bulk of their programming is religious-themed, they don't go out of their way to say, only join if you're Christian. They don't say anything of the sort. They just put out what they know to be family-friendly entertainment, some very good educational talks, and just some other good, clean fun. And it works. But I've talked long enough on this. Let me know what you think, but keep it classy and keep it civil. Again, we don't learn from argument. We learn from debate. Also, please like the video and make sure to subscribe and ring notifications so you're kept up to date on all of the future content coming out. Not only stories like this, pardon me, but also once I've finally finished all of my research and can start maybe exploring some of those rabbit holes I've been talking about. So you'll want notifications on. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day.